Hello, everyone. My name is Jakub Balhar, and I am here as the API ML squad lead. And in this presentation, we will go through a few things that are touching V2 and the changes we've done within the API mediation layer. First, I will be going over the high-level overview of what's happening. Then I will dig a bit deeper in how the installation and configuration changes for V2. I will remind you of a few things that you should know when you are upgrading from V1. I will try to touch on how the user experience changes with the V2, and then I will go into more details for each of the features that we are introducing with the V2. So let's start with what's new. I hope that you've heard so far that Zowe was selected as the best DevOps for mainframe solution. So this is just a bit of praise and thanks for everyone within the community and using the Zowe for selecting us. And coming from this is what is new in the API mediation layer itself. There are a few things that are happening within the API catalog and as such are easily visible by the end users. There are two major areas in this. One is the upgraded look and feel. We are now using a different styling approach that's known as a material and also a different library to provide this. And on top of that, we've heard over the time that there are issues with the password changes and password expiration. And so we implemented the path how the user, when their password expires or is suspended, can either directly resolve or at least know what's going on and who to reach out to directly from the API catalog. Apart from this, there are two areas that are more system administrators or maybe partially also extenders and partial users. And that's a new fast and stable on-platform storage solution for caching service. This is mainly relevant if you are running Zowe in the highly available mode. So far on the Z platform, you were able to use just vSAM. Now we are introducing InfiniSpan. I will touch it more later. And the last one is, and here I need to also thank a lot the system squad. It's now possible to run our own custom infrastructure service as a part of the API ML without having to worry about the infrastructure. So if you already have a Zowe, you want to create a service that combines some of the functionalities of other APIs that you have and provide it to your developers, it's easy now to package it and run within the Zowe scope without having to do too much additional work. Let's go to the installation configuration. As for the installation, most of the installation was already covered by the system squad in the office hours that happened 2 months ago. The recording and presentation is available from the office hours. As for the API mediation layer, there is no specifics that differentiate from this process. In general, the process is improved heavily, and it's also standardized on how all the components within server-side Zowe are installed and what do we expect from them. So this is valid for API ML itself, and it's even possible to use this to leverage just pieces of the API ML. You don't have to leverage all the services that are part of it. As for the upgrade consideration, as the usual upgrade process for the API ML is to replace the old versions of API ML with the new ones. The only area where the real upgrade considerations are relevant is the configuration. And for this, there is an important change as the configuration properties are changing across the whole V2. The list of the original ones and the new list of the new names is going to be available on the API gateway configuration. There is going to be in the documentation also a place where there will be a table showing the old and the new configuration properties. And on top of that, there is a plan, and hopefully it will be done by V2 to have a configuration script that will help you transfer and transform the old versions of the variables to the new versions. As for the user experience, I would say that there are three main things that somebody could see. So two of them are in the API catalog already mentioned. Finally, the API catalog understands when the expiration of the mainframe password means and can help the user resolve it directly from the catalog. And also, in case of suspension, it at least can lead you to right administrator or information on what you need to do. We also updated look and feel. We've heard many concerns around the way how the logout looks like, and we've changed this so it doesn't look anymore as if you are shutting down the catalog. There is a new menu where gradually more functionalities will become available as we progress with V2. And one thing that's mainly for the developers, depending on the API mediation layer, the WebSocket-based APIs finally got the proper implementation of load balancing, and so will benefit from the same behavior within HA as the other REST APIs. So now let's go to the specific features. So the first feature is the material UI within the API catalog. As I already mentioned, it's a more modern visual language that is being used within the API catalog. As a part of it, we are extending the usage of the wizard APIs, onboard new API button, and the functionalities linked to it. And we introduced the new menu where you get the information about who you are logged in as and how do you log out properly from the catalog. Second topic that we've implemented, or second feature that we've implemented, is changing the password from the catalog. As I said, there are two main cases when the user wants to do it through the catalog. One of them is when the password expires, and in such case, the user is informed that password is expired and directly asked to provide a new password with repeat. And afterwards, the catalog handles the backend job of actually changing the password for the mainframe system. And in case of the suspended password, it directs the user towards the administrator. So there is a way to unsuspend and change or resolve this problem for the user. As I already mentioned, the third area is mainly touching high availability. Within the HA setups, we need to use the caching service for some of the Zowe services, including some of the pieces of the API mediation layer. And for the caching service, it's important to have a durable storage solution. At the moment, we support vSAM on platform and Redis off platform. While this works quite well, mainly with the vSAM, we know that there are performance limits that are relatively strict. And as some, and the Redis doesn't really run that great on the ZOS. Like there is some port, but it's for an old version of Redis. And so we can't recommend this. To do this, we integrated InfiniSpan as a solution, and we integrated it within a caching service in such a way that when you start a caching service, this is being run as part of it. So you also don't have to set up a new service and infrastructure around this storage. We also tested that it's quite reliable and that there is a high performance compared to the vSAM. And then there are a few other minor things that we are introducing with V2. I already mentioned the WebSocket connections that are correctly load balanced. We provide the proper configuration for the southbound timeout. So if the services that we are routing to are not working anymore or are taking too long for something, we can time out properly even if the services doesn't do it on their own. We properly remove the services from the API catalog when they are removed. So if you shut down the service and provide a new version, you will properly see just the new version. Then another minor update for administrators is that in case of keyring setup, which we believe is the regular and recommended one for the production environment, we don't require the key alias as long as the keyring has just one certificate. And we are improving the wizard, which helps to bring your service to the API mediation layer. This is more for extenders, but it could happen also internally for within your enterprise. There is one topic I don't really mention on the slides because we are still not 100% certain whether it will be in 2.0 or 2.1, but we are extending the coverage of the client certificates. So far, the client certificates are supported just for the login endpoint, and you need to use the received JWT token for authentication against the services onboarded to the API mediation layer. And in hopefully 2.0, but worst case 2.1, we will introduce the possibility to just use the certificate for any endpoint that's onboarded in the API mediation layer. With this, I've discussed everything that we are preparing for the users and administrators in the API mediation layer. In general, there are a few resources where you can take a look at what's coming, what's available, and then look into how to use it. And that's Zowe Docs that you can find on docs.zowe.org. And with respect to the V2 release, it's the zowe.org/vnext webpage. We are gonna keep it as a vnext with the V2 information even for a short time after V2. So you can still count on going there and getting all the information you need around the V2. And with this, I'm thanking you for your attention. Are there any questions?
Hey, Jakub, yeah, I have a few questions if I can go first.
Sure.
Yeah, that was awesome. I need to start joining some of your scrums. You guys have made some phenomenal progress. One of the things, so I love the fact that you changed that log off button because it always looked like a stop button to me. So that's great. Really good work on the password change. I didn't realize that you made it so that you don't have to specify the key alias if there's only one certificate in the keyring. That's a nice touch. Does that certificate, do you just look? So in a keyring, there's a certificate and there's also the cert auth as well, isn't there? Usually has to be there. So does the certificate have to be a personal certificate and the default? Or do you just literally go in and say there's only one cert? That's the one I'm going to use.
I actually think that we are using the default cert if there is no key alias specified.
Okay, so it's just the default, because you can have one for the keyring, can't you? One yeah. The default for the user. Okay, that's a nice touch. Yeah, that's really, really good. I was going to ask a question about the UI. So it's perhaps not necessarily V2 related, but is there a way in the API mediation layer to see all of the registered UI endpoints? So you can see all the API endpoints if they have a catalog tile. But yeah. I was curious as to whether there's a way to just see them all and see they've been successfully registered without hitting the endpoint and getting some sort of 404 or something.
Not really. Like the only thing that you can do there at the moment is like if they are visible within the Swagger doc or they are properly onboarded, they will be mentioned. But you would have to go to the specific tiles and look for the UI APIs there. So right. It's not really like a convenient.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
There is an issue associated to this request in the GitHub. So if you feel that it's relevant, feel free to upvote. We will be more than happy.
It's just literally, I think it was literally last week, I was working with a customer and we were trying to debug a problem and we couldn't. And we were in the API catalog and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could just see, if we could just see them all and see if they were registered. And it actually turned out to be a certificate problem because their UI endpoint certificate wasn't being trusted. And it just was a little hard. Well, eventually we found out what it was, yeah. But, okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for your question.
I probably have so many, Jakub, I could, but one other thing that sometimes when I talk to customers as well, is that they, knowing when the API mediation layer is completely up, because, you know, some of its endpoints come up before the others. And And I was wondering if there's a way, if it's like a log file entry, a Jez message that you can say it's up, all of its services are registered. Yeah.
So there are two things for this. One is like the Jez or WTO messages. There is again an epic to do so in our GitHub issue.
Okay.
So again, upvote. And apart from that, there is a gateway homepage. So if you go directly to the gateway, so usually it's on port 7554, you will see the homepage with either red or green next to the services.
Mm-hmm.
So once all the services are green, then you know that it's been fully set up. And on top of that, there is also the API where you can reach out that will give you this information.
Yeah, no, I love using the those sort of traffic light icons. They go from kind of red to yellow to green.
Yeah.
It was more, I think the customer was wanting to know about, it was more for automation, right? Because if they hit the endpoints too early, then they might get an error message and they're not quite sure whether to wait because it's just a temporary or they want to know, now I can actually enable it. Perhaps they might open the port or something like that.
For this use case, there is an endpoint where you will get all the information that are also in these traffic lights.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's /application/health on gateway.
Application health. Okay, I'll have a look more into that. Okay. Right, thank you.
So for automation, they can do it.
Great, thank you.
Also, if they are looking for the services for each of the services, we do issue the information that's in a stable format. So they just need to look that all three of them already are in the log. It's just that we don't do this like aggregation ourselves to then provide and state
right,
YAML is up.
So I think there is a message that gets logged. I think is it ZWEAM?
Yeah, I think so.
00I, or there's a 1 in it, or some combination of those. And sometimes I often say to people, you'll get 4 of those, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll get the caching service, catalog, gateway, and discovery, and just wait for the 4th one. And if you see 4, then they're all up. And if you don't see 4, but yeah, okay.
Thank you for the question.
Okay.
Great questions, Joe. Trying to capture them all so we can post them.
I love the new log on screen as well, by the way. I really like the fact that when you log into the version 2 catalog, it's very different. It's very visually different. That the user ID and password is in the middle. They're not, they were sort of on the left at the bottom before. Whoever did the UI for that did a really nice touch. It's good. And the sort of error messages that you get back as well now, when your password, when you have issues with your password, it's just so much better than version 1. It's really nice.
Yeah, that reminds me of a question, Jakob. Are there situations where you have a password need that is not handled by the mediation layer?
I think that there is one use case where it's not properly handled, but I don't remember from my head what exactly it is. So I would have to go back and find it. We can add it to the FAQ afterwards.
Okay.
But the common ones are fine. I think we were unable to find a way how to let the user know upfront that their password is going to expire in like 30 days or something like this. So it actually needs to expire. And it's possible that some setups don't allow you to change the expired password without administrator's touch.
Okay.
Yeah, and Jakob, I've got one other quick question, and I think we talked about this a while back. So if you configure your static service to be registered with a pass ticket, because what you want is the gateway to be in between your service and your client, giving you single sign-on with a token, but you can't accept that token, so you want to accept the pass ticket. But if for some reason the API gateway hasn't been configured correctly to generate pass tickets, because that requires elevated privileges. Then there was talk about whether or not a basic auth request could just be flowed straight down to you as a sort of proof of concept. Did that go into version 2? I can't recall.
Not yet. So we agree that this is a viable way. So that it could be done, and there is no security issue that we are aware of at the moment. But we didn't do it yet. And again, there is an issue living within the API layer. And we were going before the pre-PI planning through the most upvoted ones, and I didn't see it there. So if you make sure that it's properly upvoted, we will see it.
Yeah, I actually ended up, with that particular customer, I ended up managing to get the pass ticket configuration working for them. It was just that they just wanted, so, okay. So it might not be such a key issue anymore for them.
But I would say that in general, like if there is any issue in the API mediation layer that you would like really to get implemented, the concept of upvotes is something that we do take care of, and we are starting with the ones that are most upvoted in general.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and just in general, that's a GitHub term. That's basically an option that you click on when you review the issue, right? There's a little thumbs up there.
Yeah.
Thank you all for attending. Thanks for your participation.